welcome, everyone. Today we're going to talk about boosting membership in corporate clubs and how to go about even starting our corporate clubs. We talk a lot in VP Public Relations training. Let's post on Facebook. Let's do our Instagram reels. That works great for our community clubs, our advanced clubs, but our corporate clubs are their own unique item. And we really want to make sure that, as we've talked about all the different ways to promote our clubs and start clubs, that we also talk about our corporate clubs and some of the tools that we can use to not only ensure that we get off on a great start, but also maintain our long-term longevity. It's very easy for people to join a corporate club. Our company pays for it, and we lose interest over time. But we're going to talk a lot about how we can keep people engaged, how we can keep them motivated, all through our great promotions and aligning internally. Okay, so a lot of the things I'm going to talk about tonight are how I approach my corporate clubs, but every organization is different. So, when I talk about partnering with learning and development, it's really taking a look at in your company or the companies that you work with, who are those people that have the ability to send the corporate communications? Who can communicate company wide? Asking HR to endorse our club as part of employee development. Hmm, that sounds familiar. HR is trying to ensure that we have talented employees, they sponsor training. What better way than to have ongoing peer-led training once a week that people have that continuous learning? I know sometimes I go to webinars, I go to seminars, and of course I want to implement all the things I learned, but it's a one-time experience. Yes, we try to incorporate it, but through Toastmasters, we have that continuous learning experience. And I think that's one of the most important things to emphasize with HR as well as our members is this is not just a one and done. It's an ongoing hands-on experience. What you put in, you're going to get out of it. Exclusive executive sponsorship. People want FaceTime with executives. Well, not everybody. Some people want to hide in that corner. They're like, no, I never want to be in the presence of an executive. But a lot of times, employees are looking for praise from their manager. They're looking to be seen by an executive. And so if you can have an executive be a champion for your club, and then it also helps when you're talking to HR about some potential funding because executives have that additional sway and they're able to help you take it to HR and say, these are the key things that team members or employees are going to learn. And then aligning with your learning and development team on goals, how Toastmasters already complements whatever internal training you have. I've seen a lot of Franklin Covey, a lot of LinkedIn Learning, and Toastmasters can be another component of what HR or your learning and development team is offering. At the end of the day, Toastmasters is a learning experience. Yes, we have that social component to every meeting, but really, Toastmasters is a professional learning opportunity. We have speeches, learning how to deliver a message. We have evaluations, that ongoing feedback on how we can boost people to do it even better. And then for ourselves, how we can continuously improve is a continual learning opportunity. The table topics, the opportunity to think on our feet, to deliver a message in a concise way, time management. There's so many aspects of Toastmasters that align with corporate goals. And, it's really about working with, HR to find out what are those pain points? What are those weaknesses that we feel we have? Do we need to train people to be managers? Do we need to run more efficient meetings? And they may not know right away, but it might be something that they can reflect on, and it might be an observation that you have. Perhaps all your executives go over time during all hands meetings. Maybe we can implement some tools, maybe we can implement some training, maybe we need to streamline. All these tools are things that we learn in Toastmasters and we practice on a regular basis. And our executives more than likely will not join our club because our executives are very busy people, but we, as those that are non-executives, have that ability to influence how meetings run, how those tools run. Just walk up to our directors and tell them, you need some Toastmasters. You need to manage your time better. Well, maybe that internal voice doesn't come out all the time, but really approaching them and saying, I have some tools that can help you run a more effective meeting, and really partnering with them. As you embark on your communications, take a look at what resources you have. What tools are used to communicate company wide? Do you have a corporate newsletter? Toastmasters is a perfect opportunity to be integrated into that. You can incorporate when the meeting is and some of the successes when people complete a path. What better way? And then also ask your members, what is it that you learned by completing this path? How did it help you grow here at this company? How have you been able to grow? And people are naturally going to want to grow. I don't know many people that say, yep, I'm totally content with my salary. I don't need to learn new skills. Most of the time, we're looking to grow our skills. We're hoping for that promotion. We're hoping to take on additional items. And Toastmasters is a way that we can highlight what is it that somebody learned, and then we can use that as a recruiting tool to recruit others. Because over time, people come and people leave. It's a natural cycle. Hiring, as you see, companies are constantly hiring. The great thing about a corporate club, there's constantly a new audience of excited people looking to grow their skills. Because if you're a new hire, you want to make sure that you're performing at the highest level possible, because you want to make it through those first 90 days or your trial period. You also want to impress your boss. So those people are very likely to join Toastmasters. They're also not as busy, I find sometimes. When you first join, you're getting to know the company. Some people are very overwhelmed their first 90 days. Others, they're ramping up. It all depends on the specific person. But overall, I find new hires are ramping up. They're not as overwhelmed yet. They don't have as many meetings those first few days. What a perfect way to help them get settled too and make new friends at the company. Take a look at who can send the company-wide communications, whether that's HR, whether you have a corporate communications team and it's limited to corporate communications. Who has the keys to those magic emails that can send company-wide, or who has the ability to post to your corporate SharePoint or your Microsoft Teams or whatever, your Slack, however you communicate internally? What are those tools and who has the ability to post to them? Because I find most of the time we're not going to unlock the keys to the castle and let everybody post to them, because it does need to be streamlined. That way we don't get those reply alls. But it's really important to understand who that is and then engage them on helping you build your Toastmasters club or even starting your Toastmasters club. What employee communications are sent and what is the cadence? Is it HR has a monthly newsletter or quarterly, a yearly, or there's opportunities to send one-off communications? How often? Who needs to approve them? Because once again, we're not just unlocking the keys of the castle to everyone. Perhaps legal needs to approve it. We can show them that this all came from the Toastmasters International site. They may have some changes, and that's okay, because every company is different and they want to communicate differently. HR might even have some changes because they want to convey a specific message. So it's really important that we are partnering with those key stakeholders to ensure that we're aligning our message with the company efforts. That way we have that long-term success. Another component of our audit is what professional development assistance does the company offer? Toastmasters is a relatively inexpensive experience for most people, but everyone likes if we can save a few dollars, myself included. I'm part of many Toastmasters clubs, but I always like if I can save a few dollars along the way. Helps me out pay for more Toastmasters clubs. A lot of times we see that companies do just 100% pay dues. That gets tricky because if the company has a change in management, then sometimes Toastmasters gets cut because it's a relatively inexpensive item, but maybe it's not seen as something that's, LinkedIn Learning. They don't have quite maybe the same household name, even though we have been around for nearly 101 years. I find a lot of people don't know what Toastmasters is, but if you ask them what is LinkedIn Learning, everybody for the most part knows what it is because LinkedIn spends so much time marketing. Toastmasters, we just don't have that same marketing budget that other companies have. We're also global, so it's a lot more difficult to spend that amount of money and really penetrate the market. So I, really help and pitch perhaps is if people attend a certain number of meetings, they get a partial refund on their dues. That way you're ensuring that your members are actually coming and participating. Because I find with corporate clubs, yes, we get busy, but everybody gets busy in life. But if there's no stake in it for the employee other than, I don't know, I signed up and HR is paying for it and I can say that I did this, how are they actually advancing themselves? And I think that's one of the keys. When you're discussing with HR, how are we advancing? Who has completed a level? How many meeting roles have people taken? How many people are coming to meetings? All metrics that we need to continually think about because if our company is helping assist, they want to make sure that there's a return on investment. As with anything, it's really important to be able to track what is it that our members are achieving. What employee recognition tools are available? For example, some companies have a you earned it. There's a lot of various platforms. Maybe there's a platform that people can even sign up for employee resource groups or other various volunteer activities. Could that be used to provide recognition for your club? Could that be used to send stars to someone? Or is there some way, how does your company reward people for the great efforts and going above and beyond? Is there department-led recognition, whatever that may be? Just, spend that time to research and do an audit and find out how can I recognize my members? Because we can't pay people for, their Toastmasters experience, but I always say we can pay them in recognition. And sometimes that is so much more valuable than the money because it's an experience and it's how it makes people feel in the long term. Yes, I can give you $1 and it's going to make you feel good and you can go to Starbucks, but is that long-term relationship that you've built with someone? Recognition comes from relationships and it has that human hurt to it. Recognition is so key to retention and is so key to building our clubs and gaining new members. What collaboration tools are available? Do you have Slack? Do you have Microsoft Teams? Do you have SharePoint? Who can post to them? What are the rules for posting to them? How often? Is there a cadence? Is there a calendar? I know some companies say we only post one time a day and we schedule them out. That way we're not just bombarding people with updates all day long because there's so many items that can be communicated sometimes that if everybody just posted it all on the same day, it's similar to our social media posts when we talk about our community clubs. If we just posted all our things in one day that we want to tell people about Toastmasters, we would never have anything to post again. And a company, of course, we're going to have more items to post, but it's just going to bombard people and they're going to tune out. So a lot of times companies do have a calendar and maybe it's, certain departments post on certain days, or maybe it's scheduled out based off, what's the immediate need. Similar to our social media post with a community, our internal communications are our community. So we really want to think about that strategy behind it and partnering with others to understand what is the company strategy, what are the rules around it, and how can we be able to support our fellow team members, our fellow employees on their learning journey. All right, Lena, I see you have a question.
Yeah, so Julie, we have a few questions in the chat. Would you, in relation to what we've discussed till now, would you like me to read out those questions to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is Vijay was asking, are there any specific materials from TI for presenting about Toastmasters to HR and executives? I have posted one of the links which I've used in the past, but if you have any additional resources, maybe you could share that.
Yeah, I will share my presentation at the end, and I do have a corporate clubs link in it from Toastmasters International that you can use.
Okay. So that was the first question. The second one is regarding the internal communication tools audit that we just saw. So the question from Yuri is, where in a corporate club's first year does the expectations gap most likely to happen? At what time can the club do this internal communications tools audit? Is this something a mentor can help with?
Yeah, I would say, you know, as before you even charter your Toastmasters club, ideally you're taking a look at the audit and you're working with your HR and learning and development team. If you already have a corporate club, fantastic. I would say as soon as possible, take the audit and really start working with HR and learning and development, because that I find is a key to long-term success in companies. That's how we get the new hires, and it's how we also integrate into the overall learning and gain the higher visibility within the company. Of course, we always encourage our members to bring a guest, bring a coworker, but it's also great to have HR say this is something that we really value as a company, because when HR says we value this as a company, more people are going to be more likely to spend their lunch break with you if it's at lunch. I find a lot of corporate clubs are at lunch. And so, how do we incentivize people to spend their lunch hour learning and developing themselves? Of course, maybe they can go to lunch after, depending on the company. So, I would encourage that you take the audit either before you charter or as soon as possible. That way you can really work with HR or the learning and development or whoever those key stakeholders are at your company, and then you'll have just that greater visibility.
And the final question as of now is, when designing promotions or flyers for corporate clubs within a corporate, are there any specific messaging that you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, definitely focusing on how it can benefit your company. And so that goes back to understanding what your company is looking for. For example, you may not necessarily say people are going to be better at interviews, because HR doesn't want, yes, they want you to be able to advance internally, but it's not a key selling point when we're talking with HR. It's time management, it's presence, it's presentation. All those items really are something that HR is looking for. They're looking for how can we retain and how can we build our employees to be even better for the company. They're not looking to actively have you use these skills and take them elsewhere. So a lot of the communications in the corporate club packet, and I can probably grab it for you. Let me stop my share and I will grab it. So you'll see here the TI Corporate Club packet. And I'll just drop it in chat. I'll drop the link in chat. Oops. That way you have it. Uh, oops. All great questions. It doesn't seem. Oh, oops, sorry, let's try this again. Okay. All great questions, and I look forward to your audits. Let's see. So, one of the things you want to think about as you are working on your communications is who is our audience? Similar to when we're working on our community club, who are we trying to target? It also works internally. Who is our audience? Who is our target? New hires, hey, come build your communication, come build connection. Team leaders, be a better manager. Build those skills that help you evaluate and provide feedback using the sandwich method. Managers, maybe those senior managers, encourage your employees to come to Toastmasters so they can gain time management, presentation skills, whatever those weaknesses are that HR have identified, and maybe have those conversations with managers and say, what are some of the weaknesses that you find on your team? I know I had a director say, Julie, you should join Toastmasters because you say the word like every 5 seconds. I said, like, don't you understand? I live in Southern California. We say this all the time. You just need to get with it. He stared at me and he was not very impressed. I decided to join Toastmasters. Check a box on a performance review at the time. It's become much more than checking a box on a performance review, but it's really understanding from managers what are those skill gaps that you're looking to solve, and Toastmasters more than likely is going to be able to help you solve them. And then recognizing what motivates your members to join or even bring, guests. Why are you constantly, saying, "Hey, come to Toastmasters. Hey, come to Toastmasters." Like what is it that Toastmasters bring to you that you want to share with others? And then when you identify what people enjoy from Toastmasters, then you're able to emphasize that in communications as well because your guests like, "Hey, what motivated you to join Toastmasters? What skills, what leadership, those networking, whatever it may be." You can refine your communications, and over time it can change. Maybe one quarter it's skills development, maybe another quarter it's leadership growth. When if you have a new hire season, I know sometimes there's a lot of temp workers at some companies. They're looking for networking, they're looking to grow, they're looking to grow their skills and make those connections internally. So those are all items that you can focus on over time and really help tailor your communications. Now that we have decided who we've connected with and how we're going to promote, what do we promote? Our member education achievements, especially those path completions, and tie it back to how they have grown internally through the path completion. But of course, you recognize all member achievements. When a member completes a level, why not send an email to their boss and say, "Hey, I just want to let you know that Lena has completed level 1, a presentation mastery. Here are the items that she accomplished along the way." I know my director reads the emails from Toastmasters International. He does not read my emails because I go into his office 5 times a day and ask him, "Hey, are you gonna work on this item that I sent you earlier?" And he's like, you sent it to me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sent it to you an hour ago. I don't know why you haven't worked on it yet." And he's like, "Come on, Julie, it was an hour ago." But, so that is one thing that you can also do is, really recognizing members in a corporate club. Recognition is so key to retention and so key to recruiting new members for your club. Member spotlight and testimonials. Even if somebody hasn't completed a path this year, What have they grown? You know, when someone gets a promotion, hey, can you share some of the tools that Toastmasters used to help you gain that promotion? Was it presentation skills? Was it time management? Was it you're able to take on the manager role because you are able to motivate your team because you use a sandwich method, whatever that may be? Really spotlight, and you can have those in either the newsletters or whatever tools your company uses for recognition. And then the club leadership, highlighting club officers. So many times we volunteer club officers. I hear it time and time again. Oh, I decided to be club president because nobody else would do it. Okay, I'll do it. I'll be PPR because nobody else likes to play with Canva. So I'm going to be the VPPR again. And people feel stuck in that role. And when people feel stuck in that role, they don't bring that enthusiasm and that energy for being a club officer. And that just continues the cycle of people not being excited about club officer because it seems like work. We highlight our club officers and we thank them for embarking on the journey and helping us be an outstanding club. Hmm. All of a sudden, it doesn't feel that I was voluntold. It feels a little more that I was chosen to lead the club, and I'm being recognized for my efforts, and I'm not just the person that had to do it because nobody else wanted to. It goes back to that recognition. How can we highlight everything we do in the corporate world? We can highlight our members, the success stories. Who's gained a promotion lately? By their skills in Toastmasters, what other skills have they learned? Or corporate open houses. A lot of times we think of an open house as gaining people from social media or whatever, and we have themes. Maybe it's a Halloween theme, and we can still have a Halloween theme. For example, I'm trying to start a Toastmasters club at my work, and I said, why don't we do a Halloween potluck? We're doing it at the beginning of October because our first meeting of the month is a Halloween theme. I said, let's do a potluck. Let's have some fun. So, yes, you can have fun, but you can also do lunch and learn, conquer your fear of public speaking, all sorts of ways that you can tie it back to what Toastmasters does, as well as the professional aspect of it. There's so many times that people are nervous to present in front of executives because it's hard to get up there and stand there, especially now that we're doing return to office. I know sometimes I'm like, man, people just want to hide in their cube or they want to hide in their office. But when we have to do those executive meetings, we have to have that executive presence. We have to stand up in front of executives. We have to pitch our ideas. Guess what? In Toastmasters, we stand up and we deliver our speeches. We stand up and we deliver our evaluations. We look people in the eye and we speak to people. We motivate people. We engage people in Toastmasters. That can all help us in our day-to-day job. And those are the items that we can focus on. You know, interactive demos, conduct a club meeting and give people a perspective of what is Toastmasters. It doesn't just have to be the greatest speaker that you have in your club. It can be a great speaker and a new speaker to really showcase that wide breadth of experience that you have. Invite a senior leader because once again, people are looking for that FaceTime with executives and want to be a part of it. And while the executive may not be necessarily a part of your club, hopefully they're actively supporting your club and encouraging their employees to attend. And you can invite a senior leader to speak about how communication and leadership is so important to them. Host a panel discussion. I love panel discussions. They're so much fun. I always in my past look to do a panel discussion because I don't know, there's something fun about them. I don't know about other people. Some people hate them, other people love them. I love them. What a great way to have an open house. You could do a webinar on various people, what they've learned through Toastmasters. Open it up to the entire company. If your employer allows, of course, you'll likely need to work with HR, have it scripted, and make sure that everybody's on the same page. But why not open that panel presentation to everybody? It can be a webinar, it can be something that's in person. Whatever your company is allowing is something that you could do. Encourage referrals. I know in our community clubs, we always say, bring a guest, bring a guest, bring a guest. It is no different in our corporate clubs. We all have a coworker that we'd like to spend more time with. We already spend time with them during the day. Why not get to know them? And this is one of my favorite parts about Toastmasters in the workplace is I get to know my fellow coworkers and their passions. I run into them in the halls every day. I say hi, we chat, but do we really get to know each other? But in Toastmasters, I get to know what are their passions and love that. It just brings that human spirit to the workplace. Organize a bring a colleague challenge. Instead of the bring a friend, well, yes, our coworkers are friends. Bring a colleague. Brand is that professional experience. And empower your members to be knowledgeable about the benefits of Toastmasters. Can everybody wear a Toastmasters polo for the day? Or various Toastmasters items, depending on what your workplace allows. Can everybody wear something Toastmasters related for the day? Can people pass out flyers during lunch? But make sure that everybody understands that Toastmasters is a professional experience and what they can gain by being a Toastmaster. Long-term success. As we mentioned at the top of the presentation, sometimes it's easy to start a club and then all of a sudden a few people leave and it just spirals. More and more people keep leaving, people stop coming to meetings, but we want to keep people engaged. I love notifications. I don't know anybody else. I know some people hate them, but I love when a little notification pops up on my Microsoft Teams at work. I just want to read it right away. And so you can create a channel or a group chat, on whatever tool you use. And for your Toastmasters group, use that for your communications. It breaks through the clutter of email. I don't know how many emails I get in a day, but it just emails just start going down, down, down in your inbox. But those chats are right there. Now, of course, if you get a lot of chats in the day with a lot of different people, then of course it might start moving down. But your chat can be branded. You can use the Toastmasters logo. And then that people will see, like, oh shoot, I haven't replied to that Toastmasters thing. You can tag at everyone on some of them. So really take a look at those tools that you have. Send calendar invites in advance. I am guilty of this, sending the calendar invite, the day before, what have you, and I think everybody should have it on their calendar. Not everybody does. So do send those, whether it's a repeating invite, if you set up a group email, then it might be easier to do the repeating invite. Because we haven't formally established, I haven't set that up in the corporate system yet. So I've just been sending one-off calendar invites. Of course, I have to remember to send them. One of the tools that I'm trying to use is when my meeting is done, when I come back from lunch, just sending it that day. Is whatever works for you, though. Monitor meeting attendance trends. Maybe you need to choose a different time and day or a different cadence for when you meet. And it doesn't always have, if you say we're going to meet Wednesday at noon, it doesn't always have to be Wednesday at noon. Maybe it's the first Wednesday and third Wednesday at noon, but it's the second and fourth on Thursday or whatever that may be for your company. And maybe sometimes if you have a lot of various time zones that you're trying to accommodate, I know there are some companies that say, we're one Toastmasters club, we're one company, we're one Toastmasters club. We want to accommodate all our employees in one club. So they do have multiple club officers or what have you. I have heard obviously only one club officer will get credit, but how they work it, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that they have multiple meetings every week and then does give people the opportunity to drop into a meeting for a time that works for them. I would imagine they have a lot of coordination to figure out who's attending which meetings, but that is an option if you do have a large global presence that you don't have to necessarily stick to the just the noon meeting time. You can offer it to a wider group of people. Track where your guests heard about you. What promotions are most effective because that will help us spend most of our time on those promotions. Of course, we want to use a wide variety of tools, but if we find that the new hire orientation is our best, perhaps we can ask HR, can we come to new hire orientation? Put a face to the names, have that personal invite to them. People can ask us questions right then and there, and they don't have to wait to ask their questions as they take in all the new tools. Or maybe we find that the new hire orientation isn't as effective because they're just completely overwhelmed with everything. And we ask HR, can you send our information, maybe once they've been with the company for 7 days? Whatever it may be, you can find that sweet spot. Conduct moments of truth. We talk about it in our community clubs, our corporate clubs, so incredibly important as well because people are spending their lunch break with us. They're spending time with us that is their time that they could be running errands, they could be doing a million other things. They could just be vegging, but they're taking that time, and we want to make sure that we have that high quality experience and that we're welcoming. We don't want to be off-putting to certain groups in the company. We want to make sure that we feel inclusive to everyone. And so that moments of truth can help us look for those blind spots. Here's just a couple examples. I am trying to start Toastmasters in my workplace, and these are some of the flyers that I created, taking a look at the corporate tools that Toastmasters International set out, as well as thinking, what do I feel that would be something my company would be interested in? Here's just a few additional resources. If anybody has not read the Pat Johnson, A Handbook for Building and Sustaining Vibrant Toastmasters Programs in Companies, I highly recommend. So many great tips on working with HR and even before we start the Toastmasters Club. I know it's difficult because we always want to start a Toastmasters club, but we want to start Toastmasters clubs in the right organizations to give them the proper success. Because we are a brand and we don't want to just start a club and then have it felt because it wasn't the right match. And we also want to ensure that the company understands what are my commitments to my employees if I start this club. Because it's not just a let me start a club and congratulations, I paid the money. I never have to think about it again. We really want that executive champion to work with the club and really help us maintain that long term quality. And Toastmasters International has a corporate clubs landing page as well as a corporate club packet as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take some questions now. I'll stop sharing. Yuri.
Hi, yes, thank you, Julie. This was most insightful. I gained a lot. While I'm not a member of a corporate club, in my District 35, there are a number of corporate clubs. I want to ask you something that has been a bit of a challenge in my district, and perhaps it's common across many other districts. Often, corporate clubs take a rather cold approach towards district members like the trio, the area directors, and other individuals. What have you seen, or what can you suggest area directors do to, one, make the relationship a bit more warm, and then by extension, then then get the club to be more receptive to the knowledge that the area director or district is trying to share with them to support them in as they search for new members in addition to trying what you mentioned tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a common item across many districts that our corporate clubs, they tend to struggle to want to go outside their club because, our club, especially in a company, is our comfort zone. And I go to work, I do my Toastmasters, and I've met my commitment to myself. But I think one of the things is you continuing to show members that this being an area director is an opportunity to learn. When we have training opportunities, you invite them to come to training, invite them to step outside their club. And then I think once you spark that interest with a few people, it continues to spark that interest. I know I was part of a club when I first joined Toastmasters. It was a corporate open club. Most of the members worked at the same company, but over time, they opened it up to people outside. And I remember I became an area director because my club president was an area director, and she had invited us to all support the contest. And she said, "Hey, everybody, come hang out with me, do the contest." And so it can be challenging to entice our corporate clubs to step outside. But I think the more that we invite them, the more that we cultivate that experience with the club. Now, it can be difficult because I know some corporate clubs are very strict with security because they may need to maintain confidentiality. So, as an area director, you might only be able to do the minimum number of visits, or maybe you need to visit online. Is all up to the company, and they may have some restrictions. But the more that we can invite people to gather with us, I think the more opportunities that we have to encourage them to become area directors and future district directors and beyond.
Definitely.
Julie, we have a few questions in the chat. Would you like me to read them out to you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so the question from Ed, in fact, I think you already answered it as the question came in, but I'll anyway read it. What are some development indicators we could suggest to corporate stakeholders so that they could use to take notice of how well the Toastmasters program is working for them?
It all comes back to what are the company's pain points? And your HR team likely will know what those pain points are. And if HR doesn't know, sample a few of the managers and say, hey, we're trying to build the Toastmasters Club, or we're trying to recruit new people. What are the skills that you really feel people need to work on? And then you can work backwards from there on what those selling points are. And then those people that have had promotions recently that are part of your Toastmasters club, because I know you're all going to have outstanding superstars in your clubs. And when those people get the promotions, ask them for those testimonials on how they feel Toastmasters has helped them gain that promotion. And I think a lot of times people at first may not think, oh, yeah, Toastmasters definitely helped me. But if you ask them a few things, do you feel that you have better time management? Did you give better feedback along the way? Did you have concise communications? How did you grow in the last however many months that you've been a Toastmaster? How have you grown since your last performance review? And if they can reflect on that, the more that people can reflect, and then the more that you have testimonials to share with other people. And no two people are alike, and no two people are going to need the same skill set. But the more that you can show that Toastmasters is a key learning experience, when we reach out to managers, when someone completes a level, sharing with that manager what the person had to do to complete that level. They gave a series of 4 speeches that focused on this, and Toastmasters, of course, has that all in the pathways. Sending the certificate, encouraging the manager to recognize them during the next, internal meeting that they have with their employees. And everybody's going to be different, and the manager's going to know how people want to be recognized. Some people are very private. They may not want to be recognized in front of the entire team, but having that congratulations from their manager would definitely be empowering to them.
Yeah, and just wanted to add to what Julie mentioned about the pain points, identifying the pain points or the skill gaps. I have an example of a corporate club that was put into place primarily for a team that was handling customer service roles. And the best part was they tailored their table topics section to cover those themes or those topics, whatever was the topics that they were handling those customer service queries on. Those were the ones they were practicing as part of the table topics. So that way, over course of time, you're able to actually analyze the metrics and see how well they are starting to perform on those conversations with customers. So I think, yeah, identifying that pain point or the skill gap, I think definitely will help to amplify the message that we want to communicate to them. Okay, we have the next one. This is more a thought, not as much a question from Raymond. So Raymond says, I can't speak for all companies, but from the corporate clubs that I've visited and based on the people that I've spoken to, they are mostly required to complete level 1 only. Motivating them to further progress past that can be a challenge.
I think
Yeah.
it comes back to, if HR is paying for it, then how many times have they given a speech in the last, dues renewal cycle, and requiring that, okay, if you want reimbursement, you have to have completed a speech, or, depending on the size of your club, of course, the number of speeches, and taken on, the various roles. And I know Toastmasters International is also rolling out, with pathways, the various items that you need to complete a level. And you can use that as your template for, okay, if you would like reimbursement from HR, you need to have completed, whatever these items are, whatever level you're working on, along with a certain number of speeches, because not everybody's going to complete a level every time. Ideally, every 6 months, somebody's completing a level, but I do know that the advanced levels can be tougher to complete, especially because some of them are more project based and they're time based. But, ensuring that people are regularly giving speeches and taking on roles, I think definitely will help motivate them if there's a financial incentive. Yuri. Yuri, you had a question?
I do. Kind of to follow up on what you said about and what Tom put in the chat about different levels. I'm curious, as he mentioned, in the levels 3, 4, and 5, increasingly it's not just simply reading the project description and doing a speech. It asks to do a podcast or asks to write a compelling blog, all of which obviously requires effort and time. For those members of corporate, I'll call them chapters. That's what, at least what Pat Johnson says. These are called chapters. For
Mhm.
those members who get to say at level 3, 4, and 5, they may say, "Now you're asking me to take time outside of work to devote to this." And some people will gladly do that, but for those that maybe reluctant, what kind of motivation would you recommend to use to help them understand that by investing time even outside of work, they can earn a promotion or move up within work, as difficult as it may be to devote time outside of work?
Yeah, not every project has to be done outside of work, or, every Toastmasters project, leading a project, for example, can be a component of a project that they led. Because at the end of the day, everybody leads something. I'm not a manager, but I definitely lead projects and influence projects. And so, looking at pathways and saying, what are some of the items that you're already doing that you can talk about? I don't believe I haven't done all the paths, but I don't believe podcast is a required one. For example, you could do a panel presentation, and it could be a panel presentation either within the club, or perhaps to really build the club, it could be an opportunity to do with the entire company. And so, It's all about looking at, for those people that say, I don't want to do this on my own time, but keep in mind that what we put into Toastmasters, we gain from it. So, yes, you may think, I only want to do this here at work, but, to really be successful, sometimes maybe it takes a little bit of time at home and maybe, ask people to find their passion. I wouldn't recommend starting a podcast about something about the company because that would, impose on, company IP licensing. But, if you have a passion for something, I love cats. I love stuffed animals. I would probably start a podcast, about that. And I know many people have started podcasts over time for their Pathways projects and continued on with them as well. So it's all about, working with those members to find, okay, maybe it's something that you are already doing. Can we apply it in Toastmasters? Can we modify it a little bit, maybe, for Toastmasters? Or is it something that we can help you outside of Toastmasters?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And just to add, like the same example, what Julie said about the panel presentation. It could be a panel that you're hosting at work. You can use that towards your pathways as well, as long as you have someone, a Toastmaster, who is evaluating you. And that is one advantage of corporate clubs. You most likely might have someone from your club in the same team as you, or at least you can invite them to the presentation that you're making at work. And if they are able to evaluate you, you can convert that into your pathways. You don't have to necessarily give it only at a club meeting. So that is also something that they can think of. Okay, so I think I think there's one more question. Are there any sample metrics reports to use for the monthly, quarterly reports, either to the HR or executive, that we can send?
I don't have a sample of a report, but I would recommend, working with HR to understand what are other groups reporting. In addition to Toastmasters, I lead an employee resource group, and we report on the number of members we have, the number of attendees we have. We try to track who has attended and follow up with people that haven't come, very similar to Toastmasters. So it's really about understanding from HR, what data are they looking for? What data do other groups provide? And then and understand, are we getting reimbursement? Because if we're not getting reimbursement, maybe they aren't looking for data, but it is something that you can, on a regular basis, show to HR that we had this many complete a level, all the metrics that Toastmasters International tracks through the dashboard. So we can also show to HR if we're not getting reimbursement. It's a different conversation. But if they're even if we're not getting reimbursement, I would recommend showing Toastmasters International. We have this many members, this many people have completed levels, they've completed, who's completed levels. And that way, HR will be your partner in promoting it and understanding that it is a great resource. Yeah, Toastmasters can be part of employee resource groups. At Kia, it's not part of employee resource groups. Our employee resource groups specifically focus on diversity, and then we have other employee groups that are, focusing on other items. But every company is different, and I can't speak for every company. I know some companies, their employee resource groups, are structured a little bit different. So it's all about how your company structures them and what your company calls them as well. Because I know sometimes they're employee councils even. There's a variety of different things. So a lot of how I talked about it is how I've seen it, in my workplace or other workplaces, but there's no one set answer to when it comes to your workplace. ERG is an employee resource group. For example, I lead our women's one, and we focus on empowering women and our allies. But there's a variety of different ones as well. that we have.
Yeah. So Patrick, ERG is basically groups that we form in an organization where people of similar interests can come together. It could be just similar interests, or it could be for a specific cause, like the one Julie was mentioning. Many organizations, they try to do this, and Toastmasters can be one such idea that you can pitch as an ERG. This specifically will help employees assimilate better to within an organization. So let's say you're having your new members join in. It can be overwhelming for them to be in a new place with everything is very new for them. And if they join any one of the employee resource groups based on their area of interest, that could be a good way for them to get assimilated into the organization in a more seamless manner. Okay. Yeah, we had a lot of lovely questions, a lot of good discussion in today's session. Any other, maybe one last question? We are a little over time.
Will there be, I know there's a schedule available, but for me, this was terrific. Thank you. Is it Lena? Pronounced Lena?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, thank you, Lena. Thank you, Julie. I'm in Wisconsin, therefore I'm in, right now it's approaching 10 o'clock, but somehow I found myself still up at 9 p.m. But to make the session, this was highly informative, highly useful. I will definitely try to watch the recording, and I will try to catch some of these other ones. But you did an awesome job and definitely helped me get some ideas together.
Thank you. Thank you, Yuri.